welcome Nathan Rod. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
The purpose of your agenda item tonight for us is to briefly give you an update on the stabilization project for the Astor House, and then to talk to you about potential other opportunities for interpretive programs at the Astor House. So that's our intent tonight. And with that, I'll turn the time over to Nathan, who's got most of this worked through.
Thank you. I've actually got a PowerPoint here, which I'm just curious would be easier if I asked Susan to go through the slides, or if you would mind if I go up there and do them. Do you, someone?
Whatever you just read.
Yeah, we're fine with whichever way.
If you don't mind,
That's totally fine.
the drama in my presentation. Just
Take the microphone.
Sure.
Susan's probably happy to. Let him.
Okay. All right, so my apologies, this is not exactly perfect, but so previously on Astor House, so as everyone knows, we've gone through several different issues with the Astor House related to trying to preserve it for the future. It's going to be 150 years old next year. We discovered some pretty significant structural issues with the building, which we worked with the engineer. We had the design. We also got a grant from the State Historical Fund, and after we got into it, we found out the fund was going to be much more restrictive than we ever really imagined what we could do, and we thought it was too restrictive for future uses. And that is the recommendation that we brought to council, and council did agree to get out of that deal. We moved ahead. Part of the sticking points with that was the asbestos abatement. And so what we really felt was important to do was to do a full asbestos abatement. We thought from the 4 different consultants, the engineer and the contractors, that it made the most sense, would be the least expensive, and it would be done with once and for all if we just did a full abatement. The abatement was, of course, by necessity, incredibly invasive. We couldn't even have access to the building for the 3 weeks while it was happening, just because it's very highly regulated by the state. So this is what it looked like as they were doing it, and when we got it back, this is what we had. So I walk into the building after it's happened, and I look around, and I'm just struck by how amazing this building is. It's like this exquisite skeleton of this 150-year-old building, and we found so many really cool things about it. And we've learned a lot about its construction, both good and bad, and just these amazing spaces. This is a view of the kitchen, the 2 bathrooms on the side. This is looking to the north. This is a view from the 2nd floor as you're looking kind of through all the different timbers of the different rooms up there. This is a view, again, of the parlor on the front, on the 1st level, looking to the west. And it just got us thinking, this is such a beautiful space. It has boundless opportunity. Is this the best use for this building? Are we doing the best things? So we really took as quickly as we could to kind of put on the pause button, to examine what we were doing, and to really make sure that we were presenting an idea and a plan that we thought was going to be really the best that we could do with this space. And my motivating idea was really, can we create in this space a new type of attraction that matches the history and the culture of Golden, is broadly appealing, honors the building, and is potentially self-sustaining. And so a lot of these factors, we really bared them in mind as we were kind of coming up with, like, what can we really do with this space? What would be really unique and different? And we had a lot of different ideas, but one thing that we thought that really matched the DNA of Golden was the history of beer. And so we started developing the idea of, what if we did a Colorado beer museum in this location? So why would we do this? Well, I think there's a few things that we'd say. One is that beer has and continues to shape Colorado's history. It's important in so many different ways. It affects our agriculture, it's affected our industry and our economy, our social history, obviously our politics, water and the environment, culture. This is the Great American Beer Festival. and innovation, the invention of the aluminum can, and everything that came as a side product of the beer industry, in not just in Golden, but in Colorado. And that Golden truly is an epicenter of Colorado's beer history. And we've been working with a couple different kind of side consulting, getting advice from some different historians, and believe it or not, there actually are beer historians out there. One I've been working with at History Colorado, and he's defined it into kind of 4 different eras, and Golden fits so perfectly, this kind of pioneer era, very early territorial to Prohibition. This is a picture of the Goosetown Tavern, which was, until it was destroyed, the oldest bar in Colorado. The Prohibition era, 1916 and 1933. Prohibition starts in Colorado 4 years before it happens nationally. It nearly destroys definitely the beer economy, but a larger economy too. It comes roaring out of that in the 30s when, Coors is one of the few remaining breweries across the country and becomes this global power. And then this craft beer renaissance, which these are the guys from the Golden City Brewery, one of the very first microbrews in all of Colorado and really in the country, and it really becomes this huge movement in Colorado. And so just another example of how beer has really been has permeated our culture here. Just as a side note, the guy on the left who's writing the keg is Paul Reeves, who designed the Welcome to Golden Arch and was an ad man for Coors for years. So also, why would we do this in Golden? Well, it's home to breweries large and small. It's the site of the largest brewery in the planet. It's presently the site of 6 microbrews, potentially more in the future. And just by way of, why Golden? Well, here's the first capital of Colorado. Here's the first bar in Colorado. So we think there's a really strong correlation. Golden is the beer capital of Colorado. I think that's something that we can really claim the mantle of. Denver might have stolen the political capital, but Golden can claim to be the beer capital. Why would we do this at the Astor House? Well, there's a couple reasons why it works with the Astor House. First of all, the Astor House has been a hotel and a boarding house and a social center for 150 years. It was, ironically, it was actually started by Seth Lake, who we think was actually involved in temperance. Was later purchased by the woman on the right here, Ida Getz. She and her husband Henry were German immigrants. They moved here from Germany, and they owned a bar together up in Georgetown. When he suddenly collapsed and died, she moves with her 2 young sons down to Golden, where there's a German community, and gets a loan to buy the Astor House and runs it as a restaurant. Runs it as a boarding house. And additionally, all of the different people who have lived in the Astor House as well, too. We don't always know the specific people who lived here, but by seeing city records, the directories, we know that there were laborers who were living there. Many of them probably worked at the Coors Brewery, along with all the students and people who were living there. So what would you really see in something like this? What kind of experience would we have? Well, I really think that we envision this as being a different way to experience Colorado history. It's about the history, but how the brew has really influenced who we are. And really kind of bringing out this idea of Golden as a beer mecca. I'm showing you a picture of an exhibit that we did here. This is an exhibit that we did about Coors advertising last year about a year and a half ago over at the Golden History Center. In the year that we had there, our attendance nearly doubled, and it opened up a lot of different partnership opportunities with the Coors Brewery Tours as a way to actually help publicize it, promote, to work together and to partner. We'd like to offer a tasting through time. Maybe as you arrive, the front main hall would look similar, something like this, like a communal room where you receive possibly a flight of beer to welcome you, small samples of, here's an 1859 recipe, this is what it might have looked like. These are how tastes would have changed throughout time. Maybe we add something that's a Prohibition flight too. We can talk about that. We can talk about malted milk or root beer and other things like that can also reach people who might not drink. We can really leverage the open spaces of the building, both as exhibit spaces that would have artifacts and special collections, and also be able to use it for special events as well, too, for rentals and events. maybe using that back room that was actually built as the landlord's apartment as a maybe classroom. Maybe we have a brewer in residence that happens. How can we work with all the different brewers out there, in our region, across the state, to really educate people about the craft? And maybe we even have, what wine has a sommelier, beer now has a cicerone to help really guide and educate people about that. And then our backyard, taking what is really this neglected and very disconnected space and making it like a historic German beer garden, like we're all over much of, especially Denver, but all of Colorado. Coors operated one of the best, well-known and lively beer gardens in the area. And then alongside that, we think that the potential for making it more self-sustaining is there's just limitless opportunities through the beer history and the programs, the classes, merchandising, weddings and special events, corporate events, festivals, really making it a destination. I think that there's really a way of making it be able to stand on its own. So in doing this, I've done a lot of consultation with different groups because I really wanted to get a sense of, are we going in the right direction? Are we way out in left field? What's happening? And so I had lots of great consultation. I think one of the best was with the National Trust for Historic Preservation. The National Trust is the largest historic preservation association in the country. They own about 50 properties across the country, hundreds of millions of dollars of assets and endowments, and they have one property up in Idaho Springs called the Hotel de Paris, and they are actually starting to institute, and they're just looking, they're at the cutting edge of this. They're trying to figure out now, how can we start making this more popular to more people? Because historic house museums are failing across the country, so they're looking at how they can use their historic property and leverage it in different ways. They've got another property in Monterey, California, where they're looking to work with the private industry to have restaurants and shopping in conjunction with the museum space in an old adobe, which is at the heart of the capital of Old Monterey, too. History Colorado Center is actually working on a very significant project right now that I've been in consultation with their new curators there about how we can partner together and really make this more of a statewide focus and how we can make it a lasting thing. And consultation with Historic Preservation, Inc., the Center for the American West, and Visit Denver, who in very preliminary conversations with some of the people there think that the potential behind this could be a top draw in the Denver metro area. So if we go down this path, what are some next steps for the Colorado Beer Museum? And this is just a few things that I'm just suggesting. One is some approval from city leadership that we're going in the right direction and getting some ideas into this. And then beginning a phase of feasibility, of evaluation, of community input, of planning, of really trying to understand if this is going to work, how it's going to work, what are the parameters that we could put around it, doing the budgeting and fundraising, and phase two, doing the design, implementation, and even looking at the way that we're operating, the way that we're staffed. Are we put together the right way? Because we envision this being a place that if this goes, that this is happening potentially 7 days a week, where there's programs happening all day, or there's different kinds of programs and different opportunities. So are we properly put together for this? And also bearing in mind too that next year again is the 150th anniversary of this really important landmark in our city, and can we leverage this important birthday too to help kick it off, to launch things going, to really to set forth. But we bring this to you because if this is going to really succeed as a cultural institution, it needs to have broader appeal. And I think that we have the opportunity of appealing it, of creating a broader appeal and making it incredibly mission and city focused as well too. So that's my presentation.